Hello everyone. It's been a while since I made any devlogs. It's time to get back to it. Since the last video, there has been tremendous progress. There's still a lot to be done, but some parts are already approaching the final result. Let's start with platform slopes. I thought it would be a minor change, but it turned out that the reception of the graphics has changed significantly. Previous versions seemed terribly simple and square to me. Currently, everything smoothly transitions between larger shapes. Unfortunately, this is also connected with a certain problem I've had since the graphics change. Such large graphics require a perfect connection, and in many places, there are these awful transitions. I can adjust them, but it requires a significant amount of work and constant checking in the game to see if something has matched. I haven't figured out a way to make this process easier yet. I want to divide the enemies into two groups. The first group consists of cannon fodder, such as zombies and skeletons. They appear in large numbers, stay in specific places, and are relatively easy to defeat, except maybe when there are really a lot of them, and we're running out of shield points. The second group includes more demanding enemies. They will be more diverse and require a different tactic than just using the most powerful weapon. I'm thinking of bats or owls that follow the player. Reapers who run after the player, even jumping over some holes, or vampires shooting fireballs. I plan for most locations to have a monster from this category, which will give more character to the places we visit. In the old pixelated version, I had a simple inventory screen showing the weapons I unlocked and the ammunition status. There were also some simple items, but they served more as narrative elements. Here, I have significantly expanded this part. Now we have a window with 4 categories and a lot of important information. There's a skills window, where a simple character development tree shows things like health points or weapon upgrades. The item window displays all items in the game, from weapons to narrative items or additional boosts. The next category is the quest window, where all missions in the game will be displayed with additional descriptions. I also plan to add a division between main and side quests. The last category is the world map, as I mentioned in one of the previous videos. Entirely different from other metroidvanias. It shows the location name, a marker indicating where we are, and which location is next to each other. From dialogues and mission descriptions, the player will know that, for example, the needed item X can be found in this or that location. Let's go back to the skills menu. Just as a reminder, the player can gain experience points and level up, earning skill points. With these points, they can acquire new skills from a list, most of which are related to weapons, but there are also some general skills. These may include improvement of healing potions, more shield points, or reduced power point loss for weapons. I forgot to mention that the game has 3 levels for each weapon. Points drop from enemies, but taking hits will cause us to lose points and potentially lower the weapon level. With each level, the weapon becomes slightly better. There are already 4 weapons available, 5 if you count sword combat. Different types of shots allow players to adapt to any playstyle and also to the enemies encountered on their journey. In the future, I plan to add an upgrade system. It will work in a way that there are 7 types of shots, and for each, we can find or purchase special upgrades. At any point in the game, players can choose which upgrades they currently want. An upgrade will add 2 things: a bonus, such as increased damage, or the ability to set enemies on fire or freeze them, and a special attack or spell triggered by holding down the attack button longer. This system will also apply to some other items. In the menu, players will be able to swap bows, outfits, swords, and shields. With time, I want to introduce a familiar system similar to that in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. In this system, players can choose from various available familiars. Each familiar, such as a bat or a vulture, will fly alongside the player and have special abilities. One familiar might focus on healing, another on attacking enemies, and a third on casting spells, and so on. In the game, I needed keys to add a bit of challenge to the player's exploration. You know the concept of keys in the games like this. Instead of traditional doors requiring large, often color-coded keys, I've decided to make it more interesting in some cases. Instead of doors, a formidable character may block the path, demanding a toll. Initially, the player can stroll peacefully, but then they notice the character, not particularly hiding, watching them from behind the bushes. When approached, this character complains about a low sugar level and forces the player to obtain a candy bar from a vending machine below. This introduces another new feature, a dialogue system with animated portraits. While there's still some visual polishing to be done, the overall functionality is in place. Currently, only a few simple animations for the character are available, but you plan to add many more depending on emotions. I found a cool add-on for the game maker that allows to add text effects, highlighting the most important parts of the conversation. For example, colors will suggest the conversation theme: red for characters, green for locations, and yellow for items. Various effects, essentially different versions of shaking, will highlight emotions such as fear, anger, or embarrassment. Now, with the new system, I've been able to add more characters, or rather, bring them to life. Starting with less significant characters, I thought it would be nice to add someone who wouldn't serve only a narrative or gameplay function, but simply make the world feel less empty. In the background of the village behind the buildings, various random characters stroll around. Down near the ship, there's a sunbathing rower who doesn't appreciate us disturbing his relaxation. In the tavern, I added 2 guys sitting with their beers, and one presumably still sleeping, probably recovering from the last party. The dialogues are heavily inspired by those in Celeste. A more complex version of this system includes the option to choose the conversation topic. For example, the bartender, depending on the game's progress, will have different conversation topics with hints for missions. The pirate also has a set of available topics, but additionally, he will serve as the provider of side quests. These quests will be independent of the main story and will take place outside the map. The player will be taken by ship to a distant, closed-off map with a specific mission goal, after which they'll return to the village with a reward. On the tower, there's an air traffic controller who, after mapping the route, will allow us to fast travel on a broom. After exploring the route, we'll have the choice of whether we want to fly ourselves or choose fast travel. The next character to interact with is Stanley, a vampire, the most important character with whom we have the most dialogues. He will also give us tasks. He appears in animated cutscenes that use the same system as dialogues, but visually it looks a bit different. For now, I plan to leave them black and white, perhaps even until the demo stage. It seems to me that details and colors will take a lot of time, and there are more important things to do now. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Below you can find a link to my Steam page. See you next time.